So I thought we'd talk through about the faceless portrait in boudoir photography. It's definitely something in the past decade has really become more and more popular in the world of boudoir photography, as it basically allows you to explore a little bit more of a kind of a sensuality, a sexuality, and it also gives a little bit more of the kind of the art of suggestion by kind of concentrating onto body parts or kind of just removing the face from being the main image as far as expression is concerned. So let's look at some ways that we can really emphasize the kind of the faceless image as a part of your shoot. So I would say that the first thing is the art of suggestion really does help to add a little bit more creativity within the world of boudoir photography. As I kind of touched on, you've seen me shoot it loads of times as a part of the session. I usually start my sessions light and bright, and then I'm usually working into more of a fantasy image towards the end, a little bit more creative, especially into black and white and dark, kind of lower key than perhaps the higher key I began with. So I always feel that, you know, if we use the 50 Shades of Grey book as a bit of an example, it starts to actually bring that little bit art of suggestion in, and the storytelling then is really beginning to actually kind of bring everything together for us to kind of make a suggestion without actually showing any more body than we were in the other images and things. So the art of suggestion is something perhaps you need to actually bring into your words that you use in to promote your boudoir photography, especially if you're going to adopt and adapt into kind of shooting some of the 50 Shades kind of styling. When I talk about the art of suggestion, you know, even here where she's pulling the hair across the face, and let's face it, it's not all about kind of disguising the head or the face with hair. It's about kind of lighting and cropping and so on with it. But even the suggestion here with a hand on the neck, with the hand pulling the hair across the face and hiding the eyes, there is a little bit more of an allure going on here, and bring it in that story behind the image as well with it and things. The faceless image also allows us to emphasize details and basically allows us to focus in on the hands more, the legs, the curves, the back, the neck, even things like shoes and lingerie as well. It allows us to kind of concentrate in. So you might even be shooting faceless images without you even realizing. You know, one of the popular kind of poses is where the head is nearest to the camera position and you're shooting down the body perhaps. But in fact, the face is out of focus fully because you're using like f1.8, 1.4 or whatever. And so you've kind of picked on the bust or the nickel line to kind of concentrate on. And that in its own right, you're beginning to explore a faceless image no matter what. But if you find that, you know, the kind of the black and white, the little bit more kind of edgier faceless images is not you, then just adopt into some kind of closer up images in the storytelling element as well. Remember that kind of art of suggestion that we were talking about at the beginning. Just gives us a few more images to add into the shoot. When you're looking to create more of a story within an image, I would definitely say that the kind of faceless image has a narrative, especially when you kind of tandem that up with a dramatic lighting. So you can physically have the face looking towards camera position, but if you use the light position as in here to like the 1 o'clock position, focused in onto the back of the bum, but really because there's no reflected light onto the face is almost blackened out fully. And obviously in the post-production we can blacken that out further if we want it to be a true kind of faceless image, or even go in and crop in tighter again, of course. But as far as the story of the image, I always feel that the kind of the monochrome element and the lower key element kind of really start a different storyline, no matter what I'm kind of photographing with. But as far as the edginess is concerned, whereas I start the shoot in the light and bright that I was on about, and probably the client is looking at me more at the beginning of the shoot than they are towards the end, I often describe my kind of boudoir photography as kind of what the butler saw. So in other words, looking through a keyhole kind of thing, that voyeurism, as it were. But again, it's making sure that the body is kind of positioned and posed to get a really, really great shape, no matter what figure size the client has and things. But as far as the faceless image is concerned, we can start to really kind of allow the body to kind of melt into the scene. So it's a good way if you need to actually start to hide and disguise body shape in, or even the way that we're posed on a bed with gravity taking hold of things. It's kind of a funny image that I chose here to talk about enhancing the privacy and the comfort. But faceless photography can make clients feel a little bit more comfort insecure, even when you're getting far more erotic in the styling of the image. Perhaps you're going down. When I kind of sit with the client before we go into the shoot, obviously we're looking at the lingerie they've brought in. We've kind of pre-discussed, and they've seen the 8 different styles that I shoot in the kind of boudoir. So we know what we're going to be concentrating across, the 2 or 3. As I said, I usually start with light and bright, and I end up with the fantasy monochrome. But when you start to actually emphasize body, in other words, moving a knee open more, you're kind of making the client feel a little bit vulnerable. Remember, all of these things are discussed beforehand as it develops through the shoot and everything else with it. And, okay, we're going to shoot some faceless images now, so let's concentrate a little bit more edginess to do with the posing. As soon as I'm saying that to a client or a subject model, they know exactly what we're going to be doing now, because we've pre-discussed it in advance. And again, as far as, taste is concerned, you have to be in control of your kind of own kind of look and feel. One of the reasons I'll encourage you all the time to develop your styling with the likes of a model is so that you can perhaps push yourself and push your technique and push your look and feel and the storytelling through the likes of the pose and so on. When a client can see that kind of, that shot I showed you where we've opened the knee out more, that's what we'll do now. When they've seen it, then they can actually rely on in things, really. If you're shooting it for the first time with a client, then kind of make sure, if you are going to show it to them on the back of the camera, I very rarely do that. But if you are going to be doing that, make sure that it is the best of the best of the images that you're doing, because you don't want to actually kind of kill the feeling of the shoot there and then. The whole point is building up the sensuality and the sexuality in the shoot and things to kind of give the client this amazing portrait experience at the end of the day. They are designed to be empowering images and things, and that's what I'm trying to achieve. A good way to kind of move into faceless as well is to the likes of out of focus images, especially if you're doing the likes of implied. So where we've kind of hanging the bra across the kind of the bottom of the bed head and so on with it. This kind of faceless image in its own right with the out of focus element kind of allows the picture to kind of have its own narrative no matter what. You cannot help but think, okay, what is beyond here? And this is that kind of what the butler saw when you're shooting through things. And it doesn't mean that you've got to shoot through the bedhead all the time or lingerie. You could shoot through kind of an edge of a cupboard or a picture frame or the likes of a plant leaf. In addition to that, you often see me photograph, see me photographing, I should say, through clear plastic that I've scratched to actually diffuse the image and degrade the image and so on with it and things. But having the out of focus element, for me, kind of plays with perspective in its own right. So it gives you that a little bit of a difference, as well as kind of looking at different angles to shoot with, shooting from above, shooting from the feet, shooting from the head, shooting on the horizon and at the 45 degree and things. If you can dance around the subject, you will really get a huge variety, especially if you start to introduce the different props and everything else. As far as highlighting the kind of the body, this is where you can allow the likes of a hard light to start to spill onto the body, especially if it's high and behind. because it will naturally touch the body parts. And this is a great way for us to then to really start to push that face into the deep shadow. So we're not just using the lingerie or a prop to hide the face or cropping out. We're using the lighting, like I touched on originally, to actually start to create that more drama within the image, almost a kind of a silhouette, but then allowing some of the lighting just to touch onto the body to actually get that kind of great image. And then, you know, without a doubt, it's not just hair that we can use to disguise the face, but we can use the kind of the body limbs as well in the same way for the using the arm or the hands, the legs to actually hide the likes of the neckline or the bust. We can also use the likes of an arm or the kind of the bed itself to actually bury the head within the kind of shoot. And if you followed some of the posing plans that I've done with boudoir photography, you'll know that, you know, pretty much we are going to end up at some stage by almost burying the head into the bed. And this also gives us a faceless image, but it also then gives us a secondary cropped image where we're actually in the vertical for the butt shot, kind of focusing in then actually on the shoes and everything else within things. Look, you know, faceless is easy to do. You just basically need to either crop out, hide through shadow, or use a prop to basically hide the actual client. Think about apertures as well to actually kind of throw the focus out as well. That in its own right, as I said, can be a faceless image. But it's just around with, you know, experimenting and playing. And the great thing about a faceless image, of course, I know by you introducing this in from day one, you're basically boudoir photography will take on a different kind of storytelling as well, which can really add in. But, you know, don't forget though, if the client's got really long hair, it really is great if you can kind of get them to actually wrap the face with it and things really. And it's an image they'll wow at when they actually see it on screen, if you do it right, of course. Get out there, start shooting some faceless boudoir.